If you mind introducing yourself and let us know a little bit about the landscape of BAM and the industry that you're responsible for.
Sure. So I'm the Chief Information Technology Officer and also the CISO for BAM, Build American Mutual. We're a mutual insurance company that guarantees municipal bonds. So when city and towns borrow money to do infrastructure projects, we help them lower their interest costs. We've been around for about 8 years, and we've guaranteed about $70 billion of municipal bonds. We're headquartered in New York, so that makes things interesting because we're regulated by the New York Department of Financial Services, which many of you know has a very strict new cybersecurity regulation framework.
And that went into place within the last 2 years, fairly new.
It was a roll-in period over 3 or 4 years. It's fully in effect now.
Okay. So within your company and the department and the responsibilities that you have in your team, can you break that down a little bit, what that looks like, and how they enable BAM to service?
Sure. So from the very beginning, one of our goals, I'm one of the co-founders of the firm, and one of our goals was to keep IT very small. So we have about 100 employees. We have about 10 people in IT total, 7 developers and 2 system administrators. Actually, Callan, one of our system administrators, is also here. Say hello to her later. We have about 100 employees, and we are fully Mac. So one of our other goals in the beginning was to be Mac-based, because the founders, we all used Macs at home, and we said, let's try to build a financial firm that uses Macs only.
Awesome. What led to that decision to be Mac first? Seems kind of rare for the financial industry.
Yeah, it was mostly, as Dave was saying, it was employee choice. We all, most of our employees use Macs already, and we just, we thought it was going to be easier and also allow a smaller team to support the employees. So one of the things we've always looked for is tools we could use to leverage to support a lot of employees with as few people as possible. Using Macs has been part of that. Jamf has been part of that. It's allowed us to leverage a small team to manage, a reasonable number of Macs. And also, for instance, we started using the Amazon cloud right away. We never had servers. We never had data rooms. We've always looked for tools that would leverage our small IT team.
Gotcha. And with the small IT team, what is their expertise specifically in their areas?
So we have 7 developers that develop our systems. And then, as I said, 2 system administrators who have to do everything. So they are doing everything from figuring out which fuse blew, to hooking up new wires, to setting up new computers, to fixing it, to running our whole cybersecurity program.
Yep, and so how does security come into play for them? What is their specific roles with security in their day-to-day job?
So I'll tell you, 5 years ago, I would say that security was maybe 10% of their jobs. Now, it's probably 50 to 60% of their time is spent on cybersecurity. Not only because of the regulations, but just because we've become a lot more aware of the situation, and it's the thing that keeps me up at night.
Wow, that's quite an uptick.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go back to when you heard about the news of the acquisition. How did that make you feel? You're using Jamf and Digita at the time.
It made me feel pretty smart. I was very happy. I learned about Jamf Protect or Game Plan back in RSA. I went to a talk, and I learned a lot about security.
Right.
And right away, I went and I said, "How can I have that? How can I have that software?"
Absolutely, and that was Patrick's talk, leveraging Apple's game engine to detect threats. Do you remember what about that talk stood out that had you engage with us at the time?
So it seems like a long time ago because I was so innocent then. Patrick's talk, frankly, scared me a little bit. He went through a lot of the malware environment in the Mac world, and it was a lot more expansive than I had thought. We've always relied on software updates and good network infrastructure to keep ourselves safe, but I hadn't really realized the need for endpoint protection until then. So it was a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, and what would you attribute that to with regards to kind of not knowing the landscape of Mac? Is that...
I think that Apple does a good job of keeping us safe. Their software updates have always been effective. And it just was, not something that was in my mind a lot.
Right. Yeah, and Apple does a fantastic job with the built-in native security tools and what Jamf Protect leverages. So
right.
that's amazing. Do you think that when it came to using Protect within your space and you're defining that new security strategy, what were the requirements that came about that you needed to solve in order to make you feel secure with the new kind of understanding of the threat landscape?
So one important thing is that I still needed to keep my small team. I couldn't hire a set of cybersecurity analysts. So I needed to be able to have some tool that I could, again, leverage a small team to do a good support. The Protect system has been very easy for us to deploy, and the information it gives us about our Macs is fantastic. It's been very actionable, very easy to understand, and when we found a false positive, it's been very easy to tweak the rules a little bit to remove false positives. So we have a SIEM, we have a big security dashboard monitor in our IT area, and when I see a red box go up from Protect, right away we look. It's very easy for us to figure out, what action happened on those Macs, what behavior happened. And make sure it's something that's acceptable.
Right, so you're tweaking analytics, bringing the contextualization to your network and making it work for your team.
Yeah.
What was it like for your team to take on a tool that understands Mac, maybe something that they weren't accustomed to when it comes to security? What was that learning curve like?
So it really was a remarkably easy process for us, really. It was very easy to deploy. We deployed it through Jamf. We said the collectors were easy to set up in our SIEM. And the analytics we get out of it are we have to learn a little bit more about Mac OS, but it's a very easy, understandable thing. And it's really exposed us to a part of the Mac framework that maybe we didn't see before. It's been very useful.
Sure. So
we've learned a lot more about the behavior.
Sure. So tools helping kind of understand the intricacies of Mac a little bit more.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have some examples in the wild of alerts that Jamf Protect has detected within your organization?
Yeah, we have a couple, I don't know if they're good stories, they're sort of scary stories, but we had, a few months ago, we had an alert go off in Jamf Protect, and at the same time, our network stopped working, it turned out that one of our employees had downloaded the #1 Chrome plugin, which was UPS Package Tracker. It has 50,000 reviews, 25,000 5-star reviews, which say it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. It helps you track your packages. And then 25 0-star reviews that say, this is taking down my network, it's malware. And so right away we were able to, Jamf Protect identified immediately what was happening. We were able to isolate that Mac right away, and then we were able to set up rules. We actually realized that Chrome browser plugins were a real Wild West, and so what we ended up doing was through Jamf actually whitelist what extensions we allow. So we had every employee send us their extensions, and we just whitelist those.
Awesome.
And so we've sort of shut down random bad plugins.
Right.
So that's a sort of the scariest example. We don't have a lot of DLP concerns in our business, but when we have a person we know is going to leave, they've given it's nice to keep track of USB writes, screenshots. If we have interns aren't really supposed to be doing USB writes. We don't turn off our USB ports, but I can tell if the intern is doing a USB write, which has been really, really good for us. Another example is one employee was using remote access software to access his home servers. Now, it wasn't nefarious, he wasn't doing anything wrong, but it's not something we want to allow. So it was very easy to detect it with Jamf and then Jamf Protect and then remove that ability.
Right. So in that instance, you're having a remote connectivity from box and hours that you weren't expecting.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. Excited to fold both your products into the same parent company under Jamf. So excited to have you here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.